A $1.2 million launch. If you are in the online space that is swirling around, I actually even heard a creator do a video and they gave her a new name. This video is inspired by that, but really it's more the instigator. Because if you are a creator and if you have been in this space and you've been putting in the time, when somebody comes along and you hear about these $1.2 million launches or anything like that that's so dramatic, it can feel like a punch to the gut. In this video, I want to share what might be some controversial ideas and takes on this whole experience and the very business that I'm a part of, that I'm building in, and what has been some of my own conflicts and challenges that have likely actually probably prohibited me or stood in the way of me making that 6, 7 figures yet. And I also think it's important for those of us that are in this space that haven't yet maybe hit those big goals to know that you're not alone, to know that you have community here, and that however you feel and however you process this experience is your own, and letting it be okay is really, really important because I feel like human beings, like we're not really taught that much, is actually what I talk a lot about here on my channel. We're not educated on how we become who we are, and we're not really versed. It's not part of our standard education on how to take care of our mental, emotional, our feelings. And so we all kind of deal with them in different ways. Often, what was inspired by what we saw, what was modeled to us. And being an entrepreneur, being a solopreneur, it's not for the faint of heart. It takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of, oh my goodness, like showing up again and again and again. And I have been in this space since December of 2023. I have been pretty radically at the producing content, creating content, exploring, learning, purchasing courses, joining masterminds for over 2.5 years. And I am just so humbled by this experience. Personally, I have a lot of professional experience. I have been in successive leadership roles. I've helped start businesses, startup brands, opening stores across the country in my fashion retail. I've helped leadership teams inside spiritual organizations, succession plan, if you can imagine what that's like. And I've worked in the midst of the pandemic. My point, not to toot my own horn about my resume, it's just that I have participated. I have some years on the planet, and there are still plenty of things that you can't know until you're in them. I do believe a lot of my skills are supporting me, but it's challenging to be a beginner in so many things. And one thing I think has been really challenging for me, and then I'm going to dig into the heart of what inspired this video, is I think it's really difficult for us, especially if you're over 40 and you have been successful in many different parts of your life, to become a beginner again. Maybe you've heard about the beginner's mind. That is really powerful, and it's not always easy to do. So I just want to acknowledge that. And then when you're doing it amongst all of these tools online and they're like flooding us every week because of AI, yeah. And plus, a lot of the teachers right now that are teaching and sharing and selling products, actually, I think so many of them have been shifting even recently and changing because this whole space is changing because of AI and just because of just time. But so many of them that are selling products that I've been learning from, you might have been learning from, they were not building a business in this time. They were not building it with all of these options and all of this AI hysteria. They were building it when it was not necessarily easier, but it definitely wasn't any nearly as complicated and as saturated. There's enough space. There's over 8 billion people in the world, so I don't believe that this space is going to dry up anytime soon. It likely never will. And a lot of the people that are teaching learned at a different time. So they don't really understand the experience that you and I are going through. And they also, if they're successful, they got teams. They're not doing all the work, right? The intention is to get to a place where you can do the stuff that only you need to do, the stuff that's really hopefully your zone of genius, or that stuff that you love to do, especially when you're starting to create a business. Or at least that's my intention and that's my wish for all of us, is that if we're going to step into this space, which is really, really challenging and is going to push all of our buttons, good and not so good, that we hopefully are going to eventually get to a place where we're doing the work that we really love. So let me get into this message today, which is really about acknowledging the reality of being a content creator and encouraging you not to give up, and hopefully having you feel validated and affirmed, and just knowing that you are not alone. I have some notes here. Yeah, so this $1.2 million launch was with a creator that I believe is on Instagram and TikTok. I originally saw her on TikTok, and I know that she's also really popular, and I think even has more followers on Instagram. And I mean, the For You, I don't know, she came through my page, like, and I really did, I was appreciating her ability to, I guess what's called now yap, but to articulate, and how she edited her videos. And she was doing initially like furniture flipping. And so she has a guide. That was one of her first products in this stage of her business. And I have been at this, like I said, for a while. And so I've learned a lot of things, and I've been self-taught, and I mean, I won't even tell you how many courses I bought, but it's definitely in the double digits. And I love learning. So I mean, I know how to edit now in CapCut and edits, and I do my own podcast. So it's not like I'm swift and I'm not some expert. I actually got to a place where I kind of slowed down my learning because it was just taking way too much time, and that wasn't really the heart of what I'm here to do. If I didn't if I wasn't trying to build something that wasn't about teaching people how to use CapCut or something like that, I probably would be more into it, because I love the creative process. It's actually a whole world that I never would have thought I would be in or have enough brain power to wrap myself around it. But it's actually quite powerful, right? When you learn things that you haven't learned before, and then you start to have a level of competency. I don't want to say mastery, because I don't feel like that's really accurate. But when I have started to receive a level of competency, it's been really inspiring. That being said, this woman who actually had this launch, she's doing a challenge. Like, I think it's a 40-day challenge, and is teaching people all about the yap. What many people that don't know her or heard about this challenge, this launch and this $1.2 million, they don't know that she had another business, that she has a good bit of experience creating content. She's put in a lot of time in developing her skill. And you can tell if you watch some of her videos, like, she's made it her business to master this, but it did not happen even in the 5 or 6 months since she started this account. She's been doing it in another way with a others very successful TikTok. I'm assuming she's on Instagram as well. I didn't find her old account there, but I did see her first account with her last business on TikTok, and she's got a lot of experience. So it can be challenging to see that, and then to, if you have not had that kind of success, I've not had anything close to that kind of success. I've actually had challenges just clarifying what I'm doing, not because I don't know, but because there's so much advice on, the niche, the not niche, you're the niche, all of it. And I'm not here to teach people how to make money. And a lot of people that are successful pretty quickly are teaching people how to use social media, and in a way like how she is teaching people how to yap on camera, and how to use these tools so they can get better at using them for their business, which is basically supporting them and making money. I'm not doing that. I'm here to educate. I'm here to help individuals become more learned about themselves. I'm here to help people get free from the inside out. This is my body of work. It's my mission. I've spent a lot of time working one-on-one and with teams for decades. And my intention is to create a community. I have a movement inside of me. It's all there. But my point in sharing it, and maybe you can relate to some of this, is that if you don't come in with an exact product or niche, like you're not a dog trainer or you're not teaching moms how to wean their baby off of breastfeeding, or you're not teaching people how to have better fitness or diet or workout. Those are all really kind of concrete and specific needs that do exist. And even if that isn't your situation, it's not easy. It's not easy. And if you're over 40 and putting yourself out there, when we've all kind of been trained not to stand out, not to center ourselves, it's it's challenging. So I wanted to acknowledge that. I wanted to talk a little bit about this launch as the inspiration, but one thing I really want to say, and this might be where the controversial perspective or opinion comes from, and it's definitely challenged me because we all kind of have a personality or a makeup. And I'm not saying that mine is the way or the right way. And I'm actually all about always expanding and growing. But one thing I saw very early on, and I purchased not planning, not even, this was like how this even happened for me was not something I was like, let's go do this. It kind of unfolded after I was laid off and not finding another role that was speaking to me, to be honest. And I really have always wanted to be my own, do my own thing. So here I am, and I learn about this course that's basically going to teach you how to sell courses. Well, because I know instructional design, I've been a trainer, I've been a facilitator, I am a thought leader, I have lots of IP moving inside of me and lots of things I've created. I was excited. I was so excited about this. But what's not really disclosed, because in the order in which I was learning about this person's products, is that you need to have an email list to sell these products to. And nor was ads ever discussed. So this is what I later learned is part of the challenge. But stay with me while I break this down, because I'm speaking to somebody that knows that has had maybe a similar experience, and maybe this is something you have felt too, or some version of. And I would love to hear your thoughts. So make sure you share them below, because maybe you've had a totally different experience. Maybe you have a different perspective that you can enlighten me on. Here's what I know is that one particular course, and I'm not going to get into naming it, not right now. I just don't feel like that's necessary. I'm happy to answer if somebody wanted to ask me. But my point is that I started this course, and actually um, I think it's like module. In the first module, it had several lessons. You essentially, at some point in that first module, you have to answer like 9 questions. This was at the time that I took it, that were all very much like technical based, like tools that you have to decide on. Investments. Are you going to use this tool or that tool for your email service provider? Are you going to use this tool or this tool for recording? I mean, you name it. And it was not simple. And I am a 54-year-old woman, and I know that this person attracts a lot of people that didn't already have a business online, that the whole way they pitch it is like, what are you good at? What do your friends come to you and always come to you for answers for, to give people content? Because a lot of people that join this course often feel like, oh, I want to do that, but I don't know what am I going to sell? And so that's kind of what's focused on. Well, that wasn't my issue. My issue is there's no shortage of content. However, what I did realize pretty early in is that what I'm trying to sell is not necessarily something that people are going out and just buying. Coaches or any of that kind of material around, unless it's about teaching you how to make money, it's not a simple thing to actually sell. And that was a bit of a rude awakening for me, for sure. My point in sharing this, however, is that early on, when I got to that first module, and I was like, wow, this is a lot of decisions you have to make in the beginning. And because of how my mind thinks and the different work I've done and the things I pay attention to, like adult learning theory, I was immediately thinking about all of the people and women, to be honest, because I am one, that were not going to get any further than that. because the overwhelm of having to make all those decisions would stop the best woman in her tracks, because it's so confronting. And this is the work that I actually do, is that so many of us don't know what to do with that. So we just move on. We just give up. We just turn away, even if we do it unconsciously, because it's hard. And it's hard in ways that you don't have experience. So there's a whole lot there. That could turn into a whole other video, and I'm somebody that can kind of get off track. So I'm not going to do that. I wanted to just share and acknowledge that, because I think that is a very real thing that is, it just, my heart expanded and compassion for all of us that go there. Now, I do have a lot of experience with technologies. I've stayed up. I mean, the AI world is still fairly new. I was a little bit on board with it before it really exploded, because somebody shared it with me, and I always get interested in those things. But like Zoom, for example, I was using Zoom years before the pandemic started. So there were things and tools that I've used that gave me a level of familiarity and comfort. So I didn't feel so, it wasn't so jarring. And the programming of my Gen X brain, having to answer all those questions about all those tools, oh my gosh, the overthinking, the overanalyzing, like, and that was what was being told. Don't overthink it. But it was like, oh my God, I can't just turn that off. I tried, but it was like impossible, because if you're going to, once you start one of those tools like an email service provider, it's not that simple to set up. It's so many of them are not intuitive. That still boggles my mind. So you don't want to have to do it again anytime soon. You probably know exactly what I'm talking about. So the reality of that was, I mean, honestly, my first thought was, oh my God, I want to figure out how to help all the women that don't get beyond this, because I personally, one of my values is accessibility, and I want people to feel like they got a shot. And I especially can empathize with women and women over 40 who have been kicking ass and taking names and carrying the load and not getting a lot of the credit, and just not getting, the light, the spotlight, the support. I wanted to share about that piece and acknowledge that, that example I gave, that I will parlay into a little bit more clarity of my opinion. And that is the piece that I've struggled with the most, that I've had like a moral opinion about. And I don't say that like I am the law, but it matters to me. And that is creating a tool, especially when they're really expensive, when they are like 5, 6, 7 and up. Like, to me, that's a lot of money. $500 is a lot of money. I don't care how many zeros you have in the bank. It's a lot of money. It could feed a child in a country. Like, that matters to me. So when a tool costs that much and it's not something that you can actually really implement, unless that was the only thing that you were doing and you were going to have some level of support besides these like lessons, because there's always things that people that create these don't think of. There's always questions. I mean, every mind has different ways of seeing things. So it was challenging for me, because I was seeing it with that course that was $2,000, but I saw it in several other courses. So just sell all these courses that the average person was not only not going to get through, but not then really going to be able to apply it and have a fair shot. Now, part of this is like, this is capitalism and people are in choice, and it's all part of the challenge. And yes, you got to focus. There's all of that. But I also feel like a lot of people have become millionaires online by selling products that people can't really, a lot of people, I would say most people, are not going to be able to glean what they believe they're buying from it. And you know, there's so many ways that I could dissect that, because some of it is about having a space, a community. And I think the school app that Alex Hermosi is a part of, I know he invested in it, and it's kind of his namesake now. Not his namesake, but he's really involved with it. I don't think he started it, but I know he got involved with it. He's known, it's associated with his name. I know that is a place that a lot of people create groups and people can get support, and there is support out there. But even that, if you didn't grow up with these devices in your hand, that stuff is still not that simple. As I'm sharing with you right now, I'm also like having other thoughts drop in that give it a little bit more texture and context. It's like, it's just, again, it's what's on my heart. Like I mentioned about accessibility, I care about all humans, and I care about all humans having an opportunity and having as fair of an opportunity as possible, and recognizing that equity is a piece in there, because fair isn't necessarily expected or universal, but it should be something that we aspire. And fair to one person is not the same to another, especially if you're from a different generation or you have a different learning curve, you have a different aptitude, and that's real. So that has been challenging for me, is how we all the number of products that are out there that are selling something that I would say a lot of people, most people, are not going to be able to use it to the in the way that they believe. It's not going to make them an expert. It's not going to allow them to like an expert enough to execute it and start to make money from it, which is often what the promise is. That's my experience. That's my opinion. I don't think I have a solution like it should not happen. I just wish more people that are building these tools actually understood more adult learning theory, and we're not marketing it in the way that they do, because a lot of how it's being marketed is though it's over promising, but not in an obvious way. And I've purchased enough of them. I have enough business and life experience to see this. I do probably have a purview that maybe not everybody does. And I've already shared with you a little bit of that context for where I'm coming from. I do think we should all expect more from ourselves and each other. Yeah, again, another video. So, the last couple things I wanted to share about this is that, in the spirit of like encouraging you not to give up, it's like this whole online space, it is emotional. Because if you're putting yourself on camera and you're putting yourself out there and you're learning all these ways, it's it's a lot of work. I don't even like I don't even care with or without AI. And actually, I have found that sometimes with AI, it's just more work. So it's not even about all of that, because that's a whole other level of complexity, but it's it's brave and it's powerful. And what I don't think we pay attention to, and I'm including myself in this, is that just the mere act of staying with it is literally more powerful than anything else. Because the reason why many people aren't successful in the pursuit of whatever they're going through or aspiring to, because it is often going to is going to iterate, is that they give up. It's hard, and so they give up, and that's very not just common, it's human. If you've been putting in the reps, I just want you to know that, and maybe you've already had some experiences like this, but it'll catch up. I will say this is what I'm still learning, and I keep thinking I've arrived there, and then I see that I'm not. And this is part of my own personality. I'm a manifesting generator with human design, which I'm not an expert in, but when I learned that it kind of means that you start a lot of things, you carry, you're interested in a lot of stuff. It reminded me of other assessments I've had that all kind of say the same thing. And it's like, I am highly creative, I'm a builder, and I can also lose interest, because I probably, once I go into a place where it's getting into a certain level, it's not really where my joy or gifts are. But I don't know. There might even be some undiagnosed ADHD. The point is that I have a hard time like narrowing my focus, which is also really challenging in the online space, because you're dealing with so many tools, not just the social media, But all the tools in addition to AI or like ManyChat or the email service provider or how you're going to host your videos and where you're storing your videos. And if you're going to have a course, where's that going to go? And then your funnel. I mean, it is so complex. So if you've gotten to all those places, brava. Like that is a lot of work and it's like powerful work because you're probably learning so many things that you didn't know before you started this. So I just want to acknowledge that and I want to celebrate that. And it's important that we keep paying attention to the carrots that will like distract you because that's where I know my focus and efforts have been diluted unintentionally, and it comes through the spirit of trying to figure it out, of trying to become successful, of trying to figure out the thumbnail and the title and how you're delivering your message and the best hook and how do you keep people engaged and how do you become a good storyteller and then the editing, right? So, and that's just around videos. There's so many parts of creating an online business. What I love about it is that it does, the whole online space does provide a lot of access to people that never had it. I also like that it's highly creative and it's moving and it's active. I also know that it has depleted my life force. I also know that it challenges me to the core to stay on because it's difficult. Like with this person who had a $1.2 million launch, it's not about whether or not, first of all, I don't even think about things about deserving. It's not even about that. She has skill. She is teaching something. She's very likable. And she seems like a genuinely really kind heart, but she's also really she's pretty wicked smart from what I've seen. She's skilled and she's strong. You can you can feel that. That's not to say that you aren't. I'm just saying that like what I can recognize is that she's been focused. She's younger than me, and I do think there's ageism in our world. She's also a blonde, blue-eyed white woman, and I do think whether we realize it or not, we have a deference to that in this world because of racism, et cetera, et cetera. This is not Jessie's fault. That's her name. But that's all real. And if we let all of that like take our focus, we would never be able to stay in the game. So it's like chalking it up. I had my own challenges with it because of how I'm feeling about my business. If I was successful, I probably wouldn't care. So that's real too. And I think the headline of this entire video is just to acknowledge the reality of all of these components and that it is challenging and it is difficult and it does require so much internally that in my experience so many of us don't really actually have really strong constitutions and really strong self-esteem. Even the people that are putting themselves out there, it doesn't necessarily mean that you might be more determined, you might, who knows, but that doesn't mean that you're totally secure. So when you're putting yourself out there all the time, like how I've been experiencing it, which I know is connected to my core wound as a child or how I even came into this world. And I think that's similar to all of us. We all happen to have a core wound in my experience is rejection. And when you're not getting traction, it can feel like rejection. So all of that is very real. It's challenging. And here's what I can end on. Because I am here to create income. I am here to create a space for my mission that I believe was given to me. I didn't go searching for it. I feel like it found me. And I'm looking for that space to be able to make good on that, on this mission that I have been gifted with, that has been with me and building since I was in high school. So all of that is all part of my intention. And I don't think that I could stay doing this for no reason. Like having your why, having your purpose, and letting it be okay if that evolves and shifts. Because just trying to create something for yourself is enough purpose. I'm just saying that adding and clarifying something that's beyond that is really important. Otherwise, you'll just personalize all of it. And that's just too much for any one human to metabolize and to stick with it. So having a why, having your purpose, having your vision is critical. So I hope this made sense. I hope I spoke to some of the things that you have been feeling, you have experienced. I would love to hear in the comments, how has this been showing up for you? What did I miss? I Yeah, let's let this be a dialogue because I know there are so many creators out there that are, yeah, that's where my heart is. It's just don't give up. Don't give up. A lot of people quit, and a lot of people also figure this out, and you can too. If you're new to me, my name is Jennifer. I'm here every day to remind you that your truth is your power. So trust yourself and watch your life transform. I'll see you tomorrow.